Gate gate para gate parasam gate bodhi saha. Gate gate para gate parasam gate bodhi saha. Gate gate para gate parasam gate bodhi saha. Today I want to expand on the meaning of Sunyata, and you cannot talk about Sunyata without mentioning Gautama Buddha, Shakyamuni, Lord Buddha, who is known across the world. So you cannot talk about Sunyata without mentioning Lord Buddha, because he was the one that realized Sunyata, and he was the one that taught Sunyata. Lord Buddha was a god of heaven, and then he came down to earth and he started his awakening journey, and he had to attain his enlightenment. But even Lord Buddha did not know what was the end goal. Like Lord Buddha did not know Sunyata existed and that he was going to realize Sunyata. He just knew he had to go on this spiritual journey to protect humanity from death and suffering, which is death itself, which is the Mara, or in Hebrew, he's called Satan, the Lord of Death. So Buddha had to free humanity from that and free us from death. So he knew that, but he did not know how, what was the process, what was in the other shore, what was lying across the other shore, and how to attain it, how to gain it, how to realize it. And then finally, he overcame the demonic army, and then he realized Sunyata, and he attained Sunyata. And then he was aware of Sunyata at that point, and that was the way to gain immortality. So Buddha was the first one to realize it, and not even Buddha knew that Sunyata existed. Then he could teach it to everyone. So there is this sutra of Lord Buddha that is readily available on the internet. It is called The Play in Full, or Lila Vastara. That is like the Sanskrit name. And it's called The Play in Full. So Lila means a play or a sport or an acting. So Buddha came down here to play his role and achieve enlightenment and free everyone from suffering, because the entire universe, not just the earth, but the entire universe was at a risk of being destroyed and totally collapsed because of the infection. And someone had to clean it, and only Lord Buddha Shakyamuni, he had that power. So there were lots of gods before him, gods more powerful than him, like Brahma, which is mentioned in the Play in Full. But then Buddha, after Buddha realized Sunyata and he achieved immortality, he overcame death, he was able to save the entire universe. So it's very important work, and you can see this parallel with the Hebrew scriptures, the same thing Christ did, the Son of God that came down here, and he overcame death and achieved immortality, eternal life, through his resurrection. So it's the same thing. Everyone is trying to overcome death. The Play in Full Sutra, which is like the Play in Full, it's like the full story of Buddha from before even he was born, while he was a god in heaven, and how he came down, how he achieved his enlightenment, and how he turned the wheel of dharma. So the whole thing is in the Play in Full. So it's appropriately named sutra. So from the chapter 25 of the Play in Full, when Buddha realized Sunyata, what he said was, "Alas, this truth that I realized and awakened to is profound, peaceful, tranquil, calm, complete, hard to see, hard to comprehend, and impossible to conceptualize, since it is inaccessible to the intellect. Only wise, noble ones and adepts can understand it. It is the complete and definitive apprehension of the abandonment of all aggregates, the end of all sensation, the absolute truth, and freedom from a foundation. It is a state of complete peace, free of clinging, free of grasping, unobserved, undemonstratable, uncompounded, beyond the six sense fields, inconceivable, unimaginable, and ineffable. It is indescribable, inexpressible, and incapable of being illustrated. It is unobstructed beyond all references, a state of interruption through the path of tranquility and imperceptibility, like emptiness. It is nirvana. If I were to teach this truth to others, they would not understand it. Teaching the truth would tire me out and would be wrongly contested, and it would be futile. Thus I will remain silent and keep this truth in my heart. This little other verse that says, profound, peaceful, stainless, lucid, and unconditioned, such is the nectar-like truth I have realized. Were I to teach it, no one would understand. So I will silently remain in the forest. So this is what Buddha is speaking of. Buddha is speaking about Sunyata. So when he realized Sunyata, that is free from clinging, free from grasping, unobserved, undemonstratable, uncompounded, unimaginable, inconceivable, beyond the sixth sense field. So which is basically in the other shore. It is not of this world. Like this, in this world, we are dependent on the six senses or the five senses, which is your seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling. These are like your main five senses. So what Buddha realized was something beyond the five senses, because as human beings, we have a body and we have our eyes, nose, mouth, ears, and we are bound by our five sense or six sense perception. We are bound by that. We feel things, we feel emotions, we feel positivity, we feel negativity, we feel fear, we feel anger, we feel lots and lots of different types of emotions. We feel everything, we hear everything. Everything is form-based, everything is tangible. We get hungry, we get thirsty. What Buddha was saying is like, no one will understand it, because Buddha is basically saying all of those things that the human body experiences is not true. It's like, it's actually all empty. Your five senses are empty and all the emotions are not real. Everything that you feel is not real. Because Buddha overcame hunger and thirst as well when he was fasting for 6 years. That's what it means. It's like when he's saying, I can't teach it, because like the entire world is based on the five senses or the six senses. We feel, we hear, we see. Everything we do is based on our five senses. And Buddha perceives something beyond the five senses, which is on the other shore. He perceives something beyond our physical body. And he was like, I can't teach it, because the human is the five senses and the six senses. And my teaching is like a world beyond that. So that's why it was like, oh, I can't teach this. So that's why he said, thus I will remain silent and keep this truth in my heart. I think the gods of heaven as well, or the angels of heaven, gods of heaven, they have a lot of desires. They have a lot of sexual experiences. They have a lot of experience with luxuries, and they like speak about like the form, the perfection of their angelic or godly form. They're obsessed with those kind of stuff. Not just the human beings, but even the gods of heaven, the various gods of heaven, and all the angels. They were like, I can't teach this to anyone, because everyone is caught up in the form. And it's not just the humans that are caught up in the form. I think the humans are actually less caught up in the forms than in the gods, because they have everything. They're very material based. They're very like physical body perfection and all the like luxuries and stuff. They like the finest stuff, like the finest gold and the finest silk and the finest fragrance and the finest flowers and highest sexual experience, the most beautiful, stunning feminine body that they get to have sex with or something. So they are very much strongly desire based, like very strongly desire based. Humans are not that much desire based. I think most gods are more than the humans. Then Buddha was like, I can't teach this, because everyone's like, everything is desire based. Like basically the entirety of the heavens is like desire based. Everything is desire. Everything is about pleasure. Everything is about luxury. Everything is about sensual pleasures. Everything. great food and jewels hanging from the garden, and every type of fruit and every type of vegetable, and these giant mansions and silk garments and pearls and gold and necklaces and all that. So all of those things you'll see described in this playing full, all the luxury of the gods. And Buddha is like, how can I teach a world beyond those five senses, where like all the gods are using these 5-6 senses to enjoy all these luxuries and to enjoy sensual pleasures, to enjoy beautiful women. That's what Buddha means. It's like, I can't teach it because everyone's based on their 6 senses, 5 senses. This other god called Brahma, I think Brahma was like the highest god according to the scripture. And he was like, please teach it to us, please teach it to us. And Buddha was like, you're not going to get it, and you won't believe it, or you will go against the teaching, you won't believe it. And then finally, they could convince Buddha to turn the wheel of dharma, and he decided to teach. So that's where Buddha is coming from. And Buddha had his own desires. You will read that in the plain full. He had a lot of desires, and he himself enjoyed a lot of sensual pleasures and a lot of women. And so that looks like it's a very common thing. It's like, that's just how the gods lived. It's not like a bad thing. It's just how it is. Like, that's how the universe was made, to enjoy sensual pleasure, to have luxury, like what the celebrities and the ruling elites do, like that. So that's more coming from the god system, like the heavenly and the god system. I wouldn't say so much heavenly of our Father, but like, because there are so many different heavens. Buddha was the first person to realize Sunyata, and Sunyata is, even in today's context, we can say the same thing, like Sunyata is not perceivable, because it's no different to how it was before. Like, people were based on the 5 senses, and we have that programming here on earth now. Like, say, people back in the day, humans were living quite a modest life. We didn't have like cars and mansions and diamonds and jewels to worry about. But now we are like, the humans are very much programmed into that luxurious lifestyle. We are programmed into achievement. We are programmed into getting the perfect body. We all have to work out. We all have to drink kale juice. We all have to maintain a perfect body. There's like body shaming. Then you have to, there's a lot of pressure to have a nice house, to have a nice career, to have a higher status, to be educated. So humans have a lot of pressure. So that's actually coming from like the fallen angels and like more of the God system. That's what they are, very material based. They are extremely material based. So they're desire based. They're very material based. They're based on the 5 senses, because we have had that hard programming on this earth, and we have aspired to live like the gods or live like their fallen angels. And so now it's a little bit trickier. Like, maybe before it would be a bit easier to teach Sunyata, but now with all the fakeness that we have, it's very difficult to teach Sunyata now, because everyone is so focused and hyper focused on the 5 senses. 5 sense attachment is worse than it can ever be, because we have so many layers of mind control intelligence, such as like safety and privacy and just different things that we are taught in this world. A lot of the fear-based, shame-based teachings that we are given or further ingrains us into the 5 senses. So if everything is survival-based, fear-based in this world, then it further ingrains us into the 5 senses, and we basically live in a survival, fear-based world. Even when they're teaching you safety, wear a helmet to walk on the street, for example, that's really ingraining you into your 5 sense, and you have lost your basic orientation in this world. You are like, everywhere you go, you have to walk around with a helmet because you're so afraid. You don't want to cook in fire because you think you're going to burn down your house or something. So we have lost our basic orientation in this world. And they teach a lot of that in the Western world. That's safety and occupational health and safety. They really like retard it, and they take it too far and people become very nerdy, and people become really strange, in just the things that they do and the things that they say. It's not part of reality, and they become ungrounded, and they become alien to the elements. They're afraid of fire. They're afraid of like, oh, I don't know how to handle fire. I don't know how to use fire properly. I don't trust myself around fire, for example. You lose those basic skills. So that's how you are ingrained more into your five senses. So it's like worse that way. So before they had like material things and sensual pleasures to worry about, but now because of the mind control and all the different intelligences that we are interfaced and interact and we are taught and mind controlled into, that further pushes us deeper into the five senses. And it's not just easy to just give up sensual pleasure, easy to just give up alcohol. It's not like that. It's like much more deeper, because like the way they are doing it, like let's say the intelligence is higher because it becomes more subtle and more subtle. Before it was direct, like, okay, I'm going to stop having sex, I'm going to stop drinking, and I'm going to stop partying or something. Now it's like different. It's very subtle. So I think as you progress in our spiritual journey, which is like we are in the end 6,000 years, so as we progress into that, everyone evolves. The demons evolve as well. So mind controls evolves. The psychological mind games evolve, and it becomes more subtle and more subtle and more subtle. And it's harder for us to see. It's not obvious that we are under mind control, and we are very much locked into our five senses, like basically locked, imprisoned into our five senses. For example, as a human being, you can see this world with your eyes. You take breath to stay alive. You need to eat food, and you need to eat different types of food, and food tastes delicious. And when you're hungry, you eat food, and you can taste the food, and it quenches your hunger, or your hunger goes away. When you're thirsty, you drink water, and your thirst goes away. And you have love for your family, you have love for your partner, you have love for your children. All of these things that our body can do. We can see, we can smell, we can hear. We like music, we like movies, we like entertainment, we like fashion, like we do all these different things. Those are all real for us because it is so real. It is so real that you're feeling it, you're tasting it, you're touching it, you're seeing it, you're hearing it, you're speaking it. It feels real. So it is real. So there is no escaping that. So you are basically locked in your five senses, and there's no escaping that. So that's what Buddha is speaking about when he says a world beyond the six senses. That's the sunyata. So when you're locked in your five senses, everyday reality that we experience, we are locked in our five senses. And we have to transcend those five senses and go into the other shore, into sunyata. You have to pop out of your body and go into sunyata. And that's when you can achieve immortality. And that's when you can overcome the great deception. That's when you achieve victory over Mara, which is Satan. If you cannot overcome your five senses, and if you're locked in the five sense game, because everything is a five sense game. Everything is like hearing, seeing, speaking, doing, thinking, moving, eating, thirst, emotions, happiness, sadness, fear, anger, resentment, solution, equality. All of these comes from our five senses because we feel those, we believe it. When people say, fight for feminism, and you get emotional and you get riled up and you go out, you fight for feminism, that's because of your five senses, because of you felt that emotion, someone told it to you in your ears, and you conceptualize that in your head, and then you felt a certain emotion, and you felt like a sense of inequality, and you're like, I have to do something about this. And you go out there and you fight for your illusory justice. So it's like that. So you are easily manipulated by your five senses, through your hearing, through your speaking, through your emotion. Someone whispers something in your ears, and then you make up stuff in your head about that, and then you believe it to be real, and then you buy into that. So it's like that. It's so easy to manipulate the five senses, and that's what the fallen angels, ruling elites, have been doing to us, manipulating our five senses and playing with that. That's why you have to pop out of your body. You have to actually come out of that, and you have to literally transcend your five senses and transcend your body.